Well, we're excited about the start of spring football. Players have had a great off-season conditioning, and looking forward to getting out there today and getting started and letting some of the young players get a lot of work, and some of the redshirt freshmen that should fit into a role in the upcoming season, give them an opportunity to get in the mix and have some fun. Our new coaches are very excited. I know Coach Matthews, Coach Gillespie, and Coach Young are really excited to get out there and get to know the players. It's a fun time for us. I've always said that the most enjoyable time of the year for us as coaches is when we're out there coaching football, and get a chance to do it for the next 5 weeks, so we're very excited about it.
Mike, what are maybe some of the younger guys, redshirt guys especially, that fans haven't seen that you've really been impressed with during their workouts as they head into practice now?
The wide receiver group, the guys have done a nice job. Hubert Anium and Justin Blackman, Josh Cooper, Isaiah Anderson, some of those younger players. Horton, tight end, Jamal Mosley, who the fans saw some of last year, have done a nice job. Defensively, just glancing at this depth chart here, Johnny Thomas, Victor Johnson, we saw a little bit of them last year, but not much. Looking forward to them stepping up. Mo Gray, who's not young, but he's a junior college player. He's new. Swanson Miller, who played some last year, it's time for him to step up. Nigel Nicholas at the defensive line spot. Some of those guys, we're looking forward to seeing them getting out there and play. It'll be interesting to see how Anthony Morgan does at the offensive line position, and just to fit him in and let him go, see how things work out.
Is this time period almost as important for the new coaches as the new players to get familiar with the staff and the way things work?
I think they're familiar with the staff. We spent a number of hours together in the last month or so, but I think it's more important they get to know the players, especially Coach Young, get to know the defense and their personality and who he feels like fits into his style of play, and best position that we can put him in gives us opportunity to win games next fall.
Mike, does anything change for you, the way you'll operate this spring is maybe the way you operated last spring? Are you mainly offense, mainly quarterbacks? What are you looking to do in a coaching regard during the spring?
Well, I'll still meet with the quarterbacks and be with the offense in the majority of the practice. I don't know where my play calling duties will be this spring. The offensive staff will handle the majority of those, so I'll move around a little more and during scrimmages and such. But I'm not going to walk away from spending time with the quarterbacks in practice or in the meetings. That's a part of the game that I really enjoy. So I want to continue to have the opportunity to develop the relationships with those players and stay involved in the offense.
You mentioned the play calling. Last year, I think at this time you were still up in the air as to how it was going to go in the fall, and you wanted to see what was going on. You just mentioned you're going to let the staff do most of that in the spring. Is that up in the air for next fall, or are you going to come back and take over calling in the fall?
I don't see any changes at this time, but during the spring we've got several guys in that room that are adequate and can make play calls, and it gives me a chance to move around and watch other players on both sides of the ball, and gives those guys a chance as in the offensive staff room to grow and work together. So in the spring I won't be involved as much.
Is the spring a nice time for you to get to see more of the defensive guys who don't get to do as much with during the season?
Well, I see a lot of them every day on tape. When we're watching tape, I see the other side of it. Yeah. And so I see a lot more than what people realize, because in the spring we go against each other 90% of the time. Mm-hmm. So I see both sides of the ball, and at times in the offensive meetings I'm running the tape back, and they're wondering why I'm actually watching the other side of the ball. So I see both sides of it, but it allows me to move around some during practice and watch some drills with the younger guys on defense and give me a feel for them.
I promise this is not a goofy question. There's no ulterior motive to it. But offensively, having Bill Young come in to coach the defense, he'll change some things. He'll change some terminology, some calls that are yelled out at the line of scrimmage. Are those things, and maybe even some different looks, doesn't that help the offense a little bit? Because, if you're going against the same defense the third year in a row, if you're Russell Oklahoman, going against a different defense with different calls and so forth, doesn't that help you a little bit in the spring?
Well, one thing we've done this spring is we've changed some calls we make at the line on both sides. Okay. For the reason that we're going into our fifth year, and there's probably some teams in this league that are become familiar with calls we make on both sides of the ball. So those are discussions we've had as a staff, and there's some changes that are going to be made in both areas. And obviously, when you have a new coach on defense, there's terminology changes that'll take place. So there's a lot of learning going on, but it's good for our players. There's obviously more continuity on the offensive side of the ball right now. The majority of the staff's been together for a long time, and we have a somewhat mature offense. So there'll be a certain part of what we do that'll be new, but overall, we expect the players to grasp it and be able to execute it next fall.
Mike, one guy that really had people excited last spring on the defensive side was Lucian Anton. Is he back now from the knee situation and ready to go 100%?
Lucian's doing very well. Our medical staff's done a tremendous job with him. We're going to keep him out of contact, but he'll go through the drills and he'll be involved in a considerable amount of what we'll do this spring. But I don't see him getting in any contact. There's just not any reason to put him into contact. One thing we did learn last year is he wasn't afraid of contact. So we have faith that that'll come through again in the end for him, and once we get out there in the pads in August, that he'll step back up and become a good tackler for us.
You thought, he's a baller. He's a guy that goes 100 miles an hour all the time anyway. He was up here before his first semester during the Christmas break lifting weights while you guys were at a bowl game. Are you still even shocked, though, with his rehab? His rehab seemed like at the end of the season, if you needed him in San Diego, he was pretty close to being physically ready to go out and run around.
Well, as I said earlier, our medical staff does a great job, and he worked extremely hard, and he put in extra time and effort, worked with our physical therapist, and because of that, he's in a great position to be ready to play. You just don't want to put him out there in the spring when it's not necessary. He'll get a lot of work, but when we go into a live scrimmage, right now we don't think that we'll put him out there. We'll just let him work when we go thud.
From a leadership and effort standpoint, though, a lot of times you're hesitant to put junior college guys into that role. Isn't he a guy you can do that with?
Leadership role? I think he can fit into that role as the spring progresses, and certainly in the latter part of August he'll have an opportunity to step up and be a leader. Most people and football players are going to follow somebody that leads by example, and he certainly leads by example. He has tremendous work habits. He loves the game of football. So most players are going to migrate toward a player like that, and hopefully he'll step back into that role in August.
I'm sorry.
Don't want to be too nitpicky too early, but you lost big shoes at the tight end position. What are your initial thoughts on?
Well, we're very comfortable with Mosley and Horton and Cooper Bassett and Wilson Yeoman. We feel like they're good young tight ends, and obviously they're not in the same position that Pettigrew was. You're talking about a first-round pick. But they're good young prospects, and they're working hard. They had a good off season, and we should have more depth there. We went into this season really with Brandon. Wilson hadn't played, and the freshmen were really young. So we should have more depth there and be able to move those guys in and out and keep them fresh.
Mike, speaking of depth overall on the team, where do you think you are now as having a good second-team guy ready to step in for a first-team guy all across the board?
Well, our goal at the end of spring would be to have 7 linemen that we feel like that if something happened and we had to move a guy around, that we could put him in the game next fall and be comfortable that they would understand what to do and be able to execute against quality opponents. On the defensive line, we still have an issue of too deep. We played more people last year, and we want to play more in the fall, but I'm not sure that we're too deep across the board. We've got some depth at linebacker. We had some, and we've lost a guy or two, but we still feel pretty good at the linebacker position. We're very deep at the running back position, and then at the wideout position we have some depth but a lot of youth. So we're getting there, and it's interesting you bring that up. We had a recruiting meeting this morning, and we're not quite to the point where we can eliminate the evaluation of junior college players. We still have to evaluate a large portion of junior college players in order in the end to maybe take a few of them. And you'd like to be in a situation a couple years from now where we don't have to evaluate so many junior college players because we're comfortable enough that we can continue to bring high school players in, and we don't have to look for the quick fix, for lack of a better term. The ones I mentioned earlier, Isaiah and Blackman and Adrian Richards, we expect them to step up and make plays this spring and be ready to play next fall. we have a system in place on offense that there's young players that have to step in and play. And it doesn't mean they have to be a lead role, but they have to understand what their role is in the offense. And you can use Dez as an example. As great a player as Dez is, his first year here, he wasn't the lead role. Now, he made plays as the season progressed, but early in the season he was getting maybe 1 or 2, maybe 3 catches a game for the first 4 or 5 games, and we asked him to block downfield. We asked him to understand the system, and he continued to get better. Well, these guys that we have stepping up, we expect them to get better, and we expect them to play next fall.
The redshirt freshmen, which would be, I guess, Blackman, Richards, and Isaiah. Break them down a little bit, what you've seen, even maybe in off-season, athletic skills and so forth.
Well, Isaiah is not as big as the other two, but he's very fast. Speed should be his strength, ability to take the top off of a coverage. Justin is a 205, 210-pounder. He gives us some size at that inside receiver spot when we put him in there. And Adrian is a tall guy that runs really fast. He has height and reach. Needs to continue to develop his strength. But all three of them have a great attitude. And there's a considerable amount of learning that needs to take place this spring. They'll have to have great summers on their own, learning the offense. And
same thing for Josh Cooper as well.
Yeah, well, Cooper's a little further along because he played some and he traveled last year, and we expect him to understand what to do today. The three that Robert was asking about, those guys hadn't been out there yet in a situation we expect them to do it. They've been on the scout team. So Josh needs to understand what to do today. Those three need to come along this spring, have a great summer when they work on their own, and then we expect them to know what to do in August.
Coach, your January transfers, like where they're at?
Like always, I tell you, it's just a cycle. They're starting to get in good condition now. They come in and they're a long ways away from being able to play at this level, and they go through Coach Glass's system for 2 months, and now they're in better shape. But their learning curve now of understanding the offense and playing at a fast pace will start to take place. But they were good takes for us. Some of them we expect to compete in a starting role in the fall, and some of them we hope that they can be a backup for us and give us some depth. But we think that they were a good take, each one of them. They've done a nice job in the classroom, and they're starting to adapt to our system very well.
Mike, would you like to see Kate or Whedon break out of kind of where they've been and one of them really take the reins of that second job there, or could this last on into the season?
I would like for one of them to take control and solidify themselves as a second-team quarterback. I think there's a chance that could happen. They understand where they're at right now with our offense, and that both of them performed very average in the fall, and the reason we didn't name one of them as a second-team quarterback is because they hadn't stepped up and taken that role yet. And whether it's the quarterback position or any other on our team, you have to earn whatever that the coaches will give to you or you get for yourself. And neither one of them had done that yet. But they went through a learning curve last year. It was new to both of them. So we expect those guys to step up and make plays in the spring.